Let's see if we can solve this rational equation. We've got x minus 2 minus 25 over x equals 23 over x. So I know it's a rational equation because I've got a rational expression here and here. I've got one on either side of the equal sign. So step number one is to get rid of those fractions there. And the way we do that is we multiply both sides by the LCD of any fractions that occur in the equation. So this one's fairly straightforward. The only denominators I have are x and x, so the LCD would be x. So we're going to multiply the left side through by x and the right side of the equation through by x. And what that's going to do is that's going to get rid of the fractions so that we don't have to worry about them anymore, and we can solve an equation that doesn't have fractions, which should be a little bit easier. So we'll distribute this x through the left-hand side. We'd get x squared minus 2x minus 25. The last term, notice the x's cancel, which is why it's just 25 only, equals, and on the right-hand side, you'd have 23 over x times x. The x's would cancel there as well. We get 23. All right, so it's looking pretty good. This is a quadratic equation, and again, notice there's no fractions there. We're really good at solving quadratic equations. We've done that for some time now. We know that we're supposed to set this guy equal to 0 and then try to factor it. So we'll have x squared minus 2x minus 25 minus 23 will make minus 48 equals 0. And then we need to try to factor this in such a way that the first two numbers, or first two terms rather, variables, would multiply to x squared. The last two numbers should multiply to negative 48 and add to negative 2. So I think the correct two numbers would be minus 8 and plus 6. I think that would work out just fine. Yeah, negative 8 times 6 would be negative 48, and negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2. All right, so we're going to set each factor equal to 0. So our two answers are x equals 8, positive 8, and x equals negative 6. These should be our two answers. Now, one thing you have to remember, though, is if you'll recall, you have to check your answers just to make sure that they're not extraneous solutions. So there's nothing to write down. It's not difficult or anything like that. You just look back at the original equation up here, and you just ask yourself, would you be allowed to plug in 8 or plug in negative 6? And yes, the only way you would get division by 0 or an undefined expression up here is if x was 0, because you just have 25 over just x and 23 over just x. So yeah, both of these will work out fine. Both of these actually are solutions. The only way these two would be extraneous is if somewhere up here in the denominator you had an x minus 8. That would be bad if you were going to plug in 8, or an x plus 6, which I have neither of those. So both of these work out just fine, and these are our final answers.